Welcome friends, welcome to Physics in 20 minutes. So today we are going to talk about conservative forces, non-conservative forces, force and potential energy, what is the relation between the two, and energy diagrams. So what are conservative forces? So in the last class we have seen that there are certain instances when the total mechanical energy remains constant, when only elastic or gravitational forces are working. In the last class we have noticed that the sum of kinetic energy and potential energy, which is also called as total mechanical energy, this sum remains constant. That means they can interchange. So kinetic energy can decrease, potential energy can increase, or vice versa, but their total never changes, that remains constant. So we say that this quantity, which is called as total mechanical energy, it remains conserved. Now, it happens for both elastic as well as gravitational forces, for which we have defined a potential energy term. So here you can represent a combined potential energy. So when I say U in this equation, here I mean if only gravity is working, then it will be only U gravity. If only elastic forces are working, then U is equal to U elastic. But if both are working, then U is sum total of the two. So we have discussed this. If no forces other than gravitational and elastic forces do work on a particle, then the total mechanical energy is conserved, and this is referred as the law of conservation of mechanical energy. So the forces for which this law holds are called conservative forces. So for example, this law is going to be true for elastic forces and gravitational forces. So both of them are going to be called as conservative forces. So what are the properties of work done by conservative forces? So we have just discussed, it is the difference between the initial and final values of the potential energy function. So in the last class we have seen work done is, we had defined it negative of final potential energy minus initial potential energy. So the work done depends on the initial and final values of potential energy function. It does not depend on the intermediate values or by the path that the particle takes. Then the work done is reversible, in a sense that when you retrace the path, you get your work back. Suppose you raise a body to a certain height. So when you raise a body, you do work against gravity. Okay. Now, if you release the body, as the body comes down, the kinetic energy increases. As the kinetic energy increases, when the body comes at the same level, you get exactly the same kinetic energy in the body as the amount of work you had done to raise the body. So whatever work you had done earlier in the body, it is now released in the form of kinetic energy. And that is what it means that it is reversible. The spring, for example, if you compress a spring, you do work, but when you release it, you get the work back in the form of kinetic energy. Yes, so it acts like an energy bank, I will say. So once you have given the energy is not lost. It is always there, stored in it. It is independent of the path of the body and depends only on the starting and ends points. So that we have discussed. Of course, when the starting and ending points are the same, then you are going in a loop and the total work done is zero. So to give you a fair example, if you climb 2 floors in your building up and then you come down at the same place, same floor, then your starting and ending points are going to be the same, and total work done on you by the gravity or total work done by you against gravity is going to be zero. So can you tell me, this person is running, he is a good runner, goes every day in the morning, and someday he takes a straight path, someday there are some little bit of heights, he runs up and comes down, and sometimes he takes some other path which goes a slightly lower level and again comes at the same. So the key question is, in which case he will be doing more work against gravity.
So it's the same.
It will be the same in all the cases.
Yeah, it will be same in all the 3 cases, because in all the 3 cases the initial position and final positions are the same. His work done against gravity will depend on the difference in his potential energy at this point and this point, independent of what path he takes. So the work done, total work done against gravity is same for all the 3 paths. That brings us to non-conservative forces. So very simple, a force that is not conservative is called non-conservative force. That means the total mechanical energy is not going to be conserved. Examples are friction and or fluid resistance. So here total mechanical energy decreases. The total energy is never going to be conserved if there are non-conservative forces like friction or fluid resistance. Since the energy is lost here, we call these forces as dissipative forces. So typically you will encounter this word for friction, viscous drag, etc., fluid resistance. The work done is irreversible. For example, if you slide an object on the table, say you go from one point to other, then you will do some work against friction, but you cannot regain that work by sliding the block in the opposite direction. So once you do the work, it is lost. It is not reversible. It's not that the particle will use that work and automatically come back to the original position. So you have lost that work. So it is irreversible, and total work done in a closed path is non-zero. So you slide a block on a table, you go from point A to point B, you will do work. Again you come back to point A from point B, and you will have to do work again. And the total work in this loop going from A to B and coming from B to A will be greater than zero. The work done by non-conservative force cannot be represented by a potential energy function. So do remember this, that conservative forces, whatever work we did, we defined a potential energy function, like for gravitational potential energy and elastic potential energy. Here you cannot do that. You cannot define a potential energy function for dissipative forces. Dissipative forces generally increase the internal energy of the system. So generally they increase the internal energy. The internal energy typically refers to temperature. The temperature of the system increases because of friction and fluid resistance. If you have to find the effect of non-conservative or dissipative forces, then they appear in terms of internal energy of the system. So now we can define change in the internal energy as negative of work done by others. Work done by others we have seen is change in the total mechanical energy. So final total mechanical energy is final kinetic energy plus final potential energy. E1 is initial total mechanical energy, which is initial kinetic energy plus initial potential energy. So work done by others will be given by this expression. Work done by others can be written as negative of change in internal energy. So negative of change in internal energy can be written as, if you look at this expression, this is K2 minus K1, which is delta K, and U2 minus U1, which is delta U. So we have minus delta U internal is equal to delta K plus delta U. I can change the sides. So I can say that delta K plus delta U internal is equal to 0. And this is for non-conservative forces. So change in kinetic energy plus change in potential energy plus change in internal energy is equal to 0. And that brings us to law of conservation of energy. So it says that the mechanical energy may be lost, but that mechanical energy is converted into internal energy of the system, and that is called as the law of conservation of energy. And we say that the total energy of the system is always conserved. So if you have this block, that block which is sliding down, so of course its kinetic energy increases, potential energy decreases, but also there is a friction between block and the ramp. Therefore, some of the energy is converted in the form of heat at this junction point. So lower surface of this and upper surface of this is going to get heated, and it becomes a little bit hotter by the time it will descend. So that brings us to find the relation between force and potential energy. We have seen the gravitational force y is equal to minus mg. And the minus sign shows that the positive of y-axis is taken upward and force is working downward. The corresponding potential energy is mgy, we have already seen, which is a function of y coordinate. So I can write u as a function of y. Similarly, we have elastic force f of x is minus kx, and elastic potential energy, which is a function of x-axis, is half kx square. Now can you look at these two pair of relations, and can you think about a general relation between f and u? The general relation is, if you take a negative derivative of potential with respect to position, you will get force. So this is a very, very important relations. We know that work done is negative change in potential energy, but if I only take along x-axis, then work done is f of x into delta x, force into displacement. Therefore force is nothing but minus delta u by delta u upon delta x. Now if I can take limit of delta x tending to 0, I can convert this into derivative. So x component of the force f of x along x-axis, f of x, or which is along x-axis, is minus derivative of potential energy with respect to x coordinate, or minus du by dx. So this way I can obtain force from potential energy, and this is an example in one dimensions. I hope this derivation is very straightforward and everyone has followed it. Look at this equation carefully. It is negative and it is the rate of change of potential. So that means conservative force always acts to push the system towards lower potential energy. Force always acts in a way that the potential energy tends to minimize. So for example, if you stretch a spring, it is a higher potential energy. If you release it, it will move the spring in a way towards the relaxed position so that the potential energy is minimized. If you drop an object in air at some height, then the gravity will work in a way that the potential energy goes on decreasing. So the particle moves down towards lower potential energy. That is another way to look at a conservative force. They always act in a way so that the system moves towards lower potential energy. Force is a derivative of potential. If you have the potential position curve, then the negative slope of the curve should give you the force. So let's see, I have this half kx square elastic potential energy curve. So you can see that here the slope is maximum. You can see that the slope goes on decreasing, slope becomes 0, then slope goes on increasing. So actually the slope on this side is negative and slope on this side is positive, slope here is 0. Now since force is negative of the slope of potential energy, the force has to be positive here, force goes on decreasing, force is 0, force is negative here. On y-axis I am plotting force, so you can see that when the slope here is negative, the force is positive. When the slope here is positive, the force is negative. Then this is the gravitational potential energy. Gravitational potential energy is mgy. So it's a straight line equation. U is proportional to y. Slope is always positive and it's a straight line, so slope is constant. So my force is mg, which is force is minus mg. The slope is here slope is always positive, force is negative of the slope, so force is always negative and it is mg working in the downward direction. So this was just about, so far we have seen just about force and potential in one dimension. Now we will see how it goes in 3 dimensions. So just as we have written for 1 dimension, we can write things for 3 dimensions. So fx is minus delta u by delta x, fy is minus delta u by delta y, fz is minus delta u by delta z. And then we can take limit of delta x, delta y, delta z to 0 in all 3 cases. So we can take the limits of delta x, delta y, delta z to 0, and in that case I can write the 3 equations as minus, I'm using a new symbol here and people normally call it as deba. So it is deba u, or some people prefer to call it daba. So whatever you prefer you can call it. Daba u by
Do.
or some people yes do, and some people simply prefer to call it d. Let me start calling it d only. Fx is minus du by dx, fy is minus du by dy, fz is minus du by dz. Now why am I using a new symbol? I'm using a new symbol because I'm using the concept of partial derivative. So these are all partial derivative. What does it mean? It means that when you are taking the derivative with respect to x, at that moment you have to consider y and z constants. When you are taking derivative with respect to y, at that moment x and z will be constant, and so on. So in this case the derivatives are called partial derivatives, and they are many a times represented by this symbol and not by complete d. So be careful there. So what will be the total force? These are the x and y and z component of the forces. What will be the total force? So a vector sum of the 3 will give me the total vector force. So if I do that, and if I bring the values from the previous equation, then the minus can be taken common, and you can write f is equal to minus d by u by d by x I cap plus d by u by d by y j cap plus d by u by d by z k cap. So this becomes my force expression. You can see that I can take u also as common on the right side. Then the quantity, if you take u common, then the quantity in the bracket is typically written by this operator, and this operation is called as gradient of u. Gradient means you are finding slope with respect to position. So anytime a quantity changes with respect to position, we say that a gradient exists. If you take u common, then this becomes deva by deva x I cap, deva by deva y j cap, deva by deva z k cap. So this quantity would be normally represented by this vector, and we call it as del vector. So I can write in a very shorthand notation, force F is equal to minus del U. We will take this simple example, that gravitational potential energy, and we will find the force using that equation. So I will take the derivative of u or mgy. You can see when I take the derivative using the del operator, my operator will work with all its three components I, j and k on the potential energy term. So potential energy is here, here and here. Now potential energy, this is gravitational potential energy, and it depends only on the y coordinate. It is not depending on x and z coordinate. So as we had described earlier, these are partial derivative. So when you are taking derivative with respect to x, it will take y as constant. If you are taking derivative with respect to y, then y is not a constant. And then when you are taking derivative of with respect to z, again y is constant. So for x, all the three terms are constant, so it will become 0. For derivative with respect to z, again all the three terms are constant, so again it will become 0. The only term that survives is this one, where only mg is constant. With respect to y, y is a variable. So derivative of y with respect to y is 1. So surviving term will be mg. So mg will come here. There is a minus sign here which will appear over here. And there is a j cap here. So it is here. So the force is, the gravitational force is minus mg j cap. So in a very strict sense, the unit vector along y-axis is pointing upward. Direction of force is negative of that. That is, it is downward. We can stop here. Thank you.